I mean, the last thing that I remember hearing, are you ready to go back now and do what you came here to do?
When life's visible and hidden battles make you doubt that peace, love, and full-on living are possible, We Win Within brings the proof. Guests crack open their great stories that may overlap with what each of us carries, sharing raw truths, hard-won discoveries, and triumphs that illuminate the road for us all. I'm Hindy Stegman, daughter of Holocaust survivors, speaker, coach, and fellow journeyer in life, inviting you to listen, look inside, and claim the champion already rising in your heart.
So, hi, everybody. I'm Hindy Stegman, and I'm your host for the We Win Within podcast. And today we have a special guest. Yes, this is Ivy. She is a special guest, but we really have a super special guest, Sandra Combe. And Sandra has an incredible journey that she's going to share with us. So, welcome, Sandra. So glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to participate in your podcast.
So, Sandra, tell us, how did you, where was the beginning for you? What happened in your childhood? Take us on a journey from way back there to where you are today. And I'm going to hand it over to you. Go for it.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting to go back to the beginning because, we try to let go of the past, but then we realize the past really shapes our whole future. And I'd have to say, I'm going to start within the last few years. I had a near-death experience, and what I did was I went back to the very beginning, and I looked at how to liberate myself from the past, and it had to do with a lot of childhood wounds that were unresolved. And I think what the universe did was give me a second chance, to release the silence. So I'd have to say I had three sisters, lived in California most of my entire life. And my parents were born of that silence generation. So I think we inherited a lot of learning curve. I like to say, that was our playground. We came in to experience the family, which are the biggest experiences and lived lessons in our lives. Right from the beginning, with my sisters, I learned about competition for my parents' attention. And what I realized is, we each kind of set our own path. For me, I learned right away how to be an overachiever. That's how I was able to validate who I am. And that kind of grew into, a great people pleaser. I believed that I had a good childhood, but when I went back and looked at all the stages of my life, I realized that I left a lot of, I hadn't really confronted all those wounds. And mine
Sandra,
goes back.
sorry, where were you in birth order?
I was the second. So I had a sister that had a terrible accident when she was a teenager, and our life shifted forever. And it gave me an opportunity to step up and kind of be the first, the first to date, the first to drive, the first, to have this great experience. But it was really interesting how that shifted, my entire perspective of life.
So actually, you had two roles within the family. Then you were the middle child
Yep.
on the one hand, and then you had the responsibility or the role of the first oldest child.
Right, right. And we were really active in the church as children because my parents grew up in the church, my grandparents, with all this generational. But for me, I think all those really childhood learned patterns and those conditions I carried out throughout my life really began back there. And what I realize now when I looked at those turning points is there was a lot of trauma and, some abuse in my life. And, I kind of shoved it down. I think our family did a great job of, burying all the pain and not confronting it. So right then I learned about silence and, kind of that unspoken family loyalty, to the family secrets. And that's been something I've been confronting now, and I believe my whole life. Because my childhood led into escaping out of the house, getting married happily ever after. I've been married for 47 years, but,
Wow.
learning the art of compromise from that wounded child that never resolved all those. I went into corporate. I worked corporate for 30 years in a very male dominated world, very similar to the energy of my father, the authoritative of my husband. And when I was in corporate, I had a heart attack at the age of 49. And that gave me a 1 year timeout to invest in myself. And what I did, Hindy, was I opened my own healing arts, natural health and wellness business. And it gave me a chance to find out a lot about me, about self-love. And during that time, my life was so stressed, but I was so a great performer. I looked very successful on the outside, but there was that inside part of me when I wasn't working with my own inner compass and values that crumbled. So that heart.
Let me just ask you a question. When you were in corporate, Sandra, did you take on the alpha male
Oh
kind of
yeah.
role, or were you the good girl, the
No, 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 no. I definitely overemphasized my masculine to fit in. It was I worked for the number one oil and gas company in the world. So you can imagine the competition kind of dialed down my sensuality. And I just am doing a new podcast this weekend about being one of the boys. And that's the mask that I put on to fit into that culture of male. And I've competed with the male most of my life, but the lessons have been learning about cooperation and collaboration and the lessons that have continued from that aspect of my life. But yeah, just right away, climbing the corporate ladder, I went back, got my MBA to get my next promotion, to just continue in that role.
I'm just curious, and I'll let you continue on your path,
Oh, it's
but
fine.
I'm wondering, the expectation was in order to achieve and to climb up the ladder, you had to be one of the boys, right?
Right, right, definitely.
And today, if you went back, do you think you would be able to be yourself, or you'd have to go back and play that role again?
Well, it was interesting because I was out of, because it was such a massive heart attack, I was out of work for a year. I had to have a new pacemaker. I call it my peacemaker. But I was the one that wanted to control the perfection of life and became very rigid in that climbing the corporate ladder. Um, but during that year that I was off, when I started investing in myself and my own healing journey, I came back and worked 10 more years. And I would say my leadership was impacted. I learned to set boundaries. I learned to reclaim that voice that I had kind of shoved down to be one of the boys in the corporate world.
Well, that's huge, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Isn't that huge? So you must have you must have been a role model for other women there then.
Well, I definitely say that. And in the oil and gas, I actually had two roles. I worked in corporate, I had the heels, the tailored suits, the lipstick. And then in the field, I wore coveralls and a hard hat and steel-toed boots. I went out to the platforms on helicopters. It was kind of that division of myself. But I had that role to perform. And on the outside, I was very successful. But like I said, on the inside, God kind of gave me that time out. And during that time out, I learned that I've loved and given so much, I forgot to love myself.
Yeah.
So when I came back into the corporate world for the next 10 years, my life really shifted. And I continued this mother-daughter natural health and wellness. So I learned about energy healing. I've always been a person that has been a truth seeker and the knowledge, but not out of the books. Now it's out of the experiences and the wake up calls. So the heart attack was my wake up call. After 30 years, when I retired, I started traveling the world, went to India, Egypt, like the world came alive. And then I had a near death experience in the backyard of my daughter's pool. And I just was having a great time, fully alive, playing with the grandkids. And then they thought I was meditating underwater, but I was unconscious, probably due to dehydration. But I was in the complete bliss, but it was the most traumatic experience. My daughter did mouth to mouth. There was this full circle exchange of breath. And 3 days later, I woke up from an induced coma. And I had been without oxygen for a long time. They thought I was going to go into rehab and would I really be normal? But I walked away 3 days later, a complete medical miracle. And I had a choice to return, but my mission was to stop bypassing my life. In
So
my
tell
book,
me about that for a second. You had a choice to return. For
yes.
those of us that don't really know or understand, what does that mean, Sandra?
Well, to me, there was all sorts of aspects. I was in a very traumatic experience. I was probably on the best drugs on the planet. Um, and there were dreams, there were visions. But for me, I got a chance. I've studied death and dying my whole life. I had a sister that committed suicide over 30 years ago, and my quest has been to find God. And I think that all that knowledge of dying consciously, I had an opportunity to experience. So for me, it was reviewing all the aspects of my life and was given a choice to come back to share to have this new purpose in life. And this mission was, once I stopped bypassing my own life, was then to carry the torch for others. But yes, on the other side, I'm going to say that I encountered some very all-knowing energies. I call them the original ones. I believe they're the ancestral part of ourselves. So I had an opportunity to come back and live my life for me. So
So
my
was it a question, Sandra? And I'm sorry to interrupt,
oh
but I'm
no.
so intrigued. Was it like, Sandra, do you want to return?
Oh.
Do you want to stay? Um, was it,
Well,
did you hear it? Did you
uh,
think it?
I'd have to say is that everything happened simultaneously. I was in the pool. My granddaughter was there. She was like my inner self. My daughter was there. They were all aspects of me. So there was like three generations. My review of my life, like I said, was this snap of a finger. And I mean, the last thing that I remember hearing are you ready to go back now and do what you came here to do? And mine is not to teach people about death because death became such a teacher on how to live. So my program, Stop the Bypass, is about remembering to live and letting go of the past. And we've talked about that, the chains of conformity and yeah, everything that was the pain that created the heart attack, that created, that experience. So yes, I energetically connected, and to me, it was like a panel of judges. It was like a karmic board, and I've studied all that my whole life. So I think I had implanted a program of what my death would be. You know, did I see the Christ? Yeah, in mine. And I studied Buddha. I was climbing the pyramids, like going through dimensions. So, because there's no words to explain the experience, that's what my mind did. It created all the teachings that came to life about, yeah, about death and dying and living.
So when you made the decision to come back and you had done a review of your life here on
Yes.
earth and knew that you wanted to make changes and
Yep.
to teach people about making changes, was it a hocus pocus? Okay, this is it. I'm back. It's all gone. Or was
It
it a process?
well, it was like it was the whole purpose of my life. I think we come in with these lessons, we come in with these experiences, these environments come into our being, our families. Yeah, so for me, it was like everything that I've done my whole life led me to that experience. And then I knew what to do. And I got off the ventilator. I just got up and walked away from it. And it was like I was a brand new person. So that energy then made me realize that death is really just a transition. And people ask me all the time, do you fear death? Well, I realized is that you can't leave with regrets. Most of us that are fearful of dying, it's because we haven't lived or we've lived everybody else's life, Hindy. That's what I did. I was the perfect daughter, mother, wife, all those roles. I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. And what I've taught them is mindfulness and breath work and meditation and how to deal with this overwhelming life. And everything came back to me. So, this whole being interconnected with life and death, it was an amazing experience. I'd have to say extraordinary, but it is hard to find the words of that experience, except that I'm back. I've totally transformed. I've lost 50 pounds of emotional baggage because I carried everybody's stuff that wasn't mine. I carried all the burdens and the family secrets and wanted to fix everybody, giving away my life force, like all the time. And now I'm living for me. And I had to come back and be the change, Hindy, is what's coming right now. Is
How long
I had,
ago? How long ago was that, Sandra?
um, well, next year it'll be 5 years. So it was in 2021. I went to a spiritual retreat. I had some sort of awakening or some sort of a meltdown. And a few months later, I had my NDE, and my life has changed forever. But I think from now is just being more consciously aware of everything that's happening in my life. Now, I'm retired. I have a be still chair in the backyard when I need to be silent, when I need to get away from the distractions and the distortions of life. So being retired has given me an opportunity to really be more participative in my life. When I was in corporate, we're all walking zombies. We go through the motions of life.
So in you still have a healing center?
Oh, yeah. Well, my daughter and I had a physical healing center. Now it's from our hearts. We have websites, you know, um, we do theta, Reiki, rising star. We do all sorts of energies. A lot of our teachings were based on Louise Hayes, about being able to heal your own life.
Right.
And I think what that near death experience did was give me a sacred pause to look and value every experience in my life. But I had not wanted, we have a lot of guilt and shame and old wounds. So I had to look at them, to accept them, acknowledge them, realize that everybody's suffering, work through forgiveness, redemption. So it's been an unbelievable process.
So do you believe that in order to get to that place of feeling free, to be able to really love and be open and giving, that you can't bypass the
Yeah.
forgiveness stage, that the forgiveness stage, uh, forgiving others and forgiving ourselves and all the forgiveness that you need to go through? Because I think sometimes people just want to skip from point A to
Yep.
point J or whatever. I got it. I understand. Okay, now, I want to move on. But can you without doing the work?
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable work. But then you realize is that, you're the one that's buried that in your body. And then the body becomes the messenger. So then we start having illnesses and diseases. And I believe it's all blocked energy from shoving all that silence down, and it creates these physical symptoms. So I had to go in and remove those energy blockages. And when I did, Hindi, and it had to accept them, I can't change the past, but if I can learn from it and reshape my future, that was the gift. So it was like a new way of being, free to be me. What was so my awakening was born from that near death experience. But for the past 4 years, I've been writing this book, Stop the Bypass, which I believe is a movement. But my program is the Unmask Experience. And it was taking off all those masks that we wore, for protection, um, safety, avoidance, survival. And I'd have to say, I had always lived in survival mode. And that experience taught me if I'm going to create my reality, I'm going to be consciously aware of what I'm creating.
Beautiful. Just for curiosity, they say, I don't know who they is, but if we release within ourselves, yeah,
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
forgive, let go, release, that very often that energy release goes intergenerationally,
Oh my gosh.
backwards and forwards. Did you find that?
Oh my gosh, I'd have to say, I just wrote an article that was in a book, and it was like healing yourself to heal the world. And what I realized is when I started healing myself, all the relationships changed. Maybe it was my perception of just allowing people to be who they are. But from my parents are both still in their 90s. We have 4 generations. I'd have to see that from my marriage to my daughter to my kids, when I started healing, everything started healing around me. And I believe, DNA, generational, it was huge. And I've written a bunch of articles about this intergenerational healing and all this stuff that we carry from generation to generation, that we're here to break the cycle, Hindy. Okay. And I'd have to just say that the experience has allowed me to uplift, all those teachings to my daughter and now my grandkids.
That's so beautiful. My parents were Holocaust survivors. And so, being the firstborn daughter of Holocaust survivors, I took on epigenetically a lot of the fear and trauma that my parents experienced. And I knew that unless I worked on myself,
Yeah.
to release, to do forgiveness work, etc., etc., um, I was going to have that carry on to my children and grandchildren and whatever. And there was one time in particular, because I've been on this path a long time, I'll never forget. I did some sort of major release. I don't even remember what it was. And I came back and I came to my mom's house coincidentally. And my mom said to me, I want to ask you something. She said, about 2 hours ago, I felt this something really, and she couldn't explain it, but she was pretty intuitive. And she said, I had this something feeling and I felt free. And I didn't know if I could actually sit and explain it to her because sometimes, not everybody's open to all to woo-woo stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I did, and she got it. And she got it. And it was so incredible. And then she said, but don't tell your dad. He'll never understand. Just do it. Just do it, but don't tell him.
That's an amazing, but it's more than a story. It's a lived experience when you feel it and touch it and taste it, in your body. Yeah, I think what we're here to do is to clear all that stuff that makes more room, for the light to shine through us, like a cracked teapot is what I'm getting, that like all those experiences led you to who you are. I know that I've said that, but that's been such a strong emphasis in my life, is that we are here to experience the good, the bad, the ugly, and now without judgment. So I'm learning to play the neutral, but I have seen intergenerational healing because I have healed, and it's like this unbelievable heart energy when you know, you know.
Beautiful. So, do you help or work with people that are possibly ill and whether it's hospice or that kind of thing with carrying a lot of fear about passing? Do people come to you about that?
At this point, for the last 4 years, I've been in my cave writing my book,
Okay.
evaluating my own life. Um, and one of the best things I did was I left and went to Ireland for 3 months. And all those people that said, come stay with me, I did. I stayed with them and I learned to find me. I learned to have a relationship with myself. Um, and for me is the realization, yes, don't leave, with regrets. I mean, I've studied karma, incarnation. I mean, I love all that stuff. But right now, yeah, this whole program for living, I have not addressed anything like the hospice, but I work a lot with people that have illnesses in their body, with this energetic healing that my daughter and I have done for the last 20 years.
And so when people release is it releasing the fear, the people that you work with, what is there anything in particular that you can share that helps them on that path?
Um, well, the realization, I've been doing this energy healing for a long time, that everything is energy.
Yes.
Illness and disease is a blocked energy. And you do the work to find out. And like Louise Hay, she does the metaphysical on every physical symptom, what it is attributed to in a mental and an emotional way. And it is something that we have buried, inside our body. And what I realized, I've studied allopathic, I've studied alternative, holistic. That's the wisdom that I have to offer for others is to get a book, start journaling, start doing mirror work, start doing breath work, and find out what's blocked inside of you. All healing is self healing. I can't fix you, but I could help you get on the path when you're ready. And, a lot of people have come to me, I wouldn't say on their deathbed, but when they're desperate enough to have a different lens, a different perspective on the physical part of the body. And because I, had the heart attack and that near death experience, it's really given me a new map of wisdom to share with others.
That's so beautiful. But isn't it a shame that a lot of times we have to hit rock bottom
Yeah, yeah,
and in order to come back up again, right?
yeah.
Wouldn't it be
Well,
nice?
and I think that spiral down is, God's just waiting. We have eternity, right? So when you're ready to climb back up, you know, um, she is there. And I'd have to say, my relationship with God, source, nature, I'd have to say nature's has been, my real source of joy in this new phase of my life. And that's the awareness, like, where is God? Well, go hug a tree. God is the tree. Is that I walk barefoot on the grass. I'd have to just say that uh, my journey now is beyond the bypass and letting go of all the stuff. And believe me, I have cleared so much in my own life, but I had to take acceptability that I was the one that contributed to every one of those experiences.
Yeah.
And we hold on to that suffering, and that's what illness and disease is when we hold on to it. We don't deal with our grief. We have lung stuff. Well, then God gave us COVID, which gave us a chance to look at everything that was buried in our intergenerational, dealing with this breath of life, which, the breath of life is consciousness. The breath of life is energy. The breath of life is God. So, this whole thing about breathing has been a new value in my life.
But do you think today, um, the being in nature has a different, um, the energy of that, you're very conscious of it. In other words, I love walking in rain. right? I
Okay.
just love walking in rain. But I think I have a choice walking in rain. I could say, "Oh my God, I'm going to get wet and rain and yuck," and or "Wow, this is so great walking in rain." But I have to make a choice, right? And I consciously have to make that choice. And I think if we're not conscious, we just make choices and they're not always the best in our highest and best good, right?
Right. And definitely to me, the element of water is huge. I take a bath every night and I consciously clear. I do everything with intention now. And everything is vibration and energy. And, there's so much chaos and stuff going on in the world. Um, and the more that I focus on it, the more of my own energy that it takes. So I let God take care of all that. I've learned yeah, to let go of all the old stories of my life, and that that this whole unmasking experience has helped me shed uh, uh, a lot of the layers that I've held in my life. But yeah, this element of water is like an unbelievable clearing opportunity. Exactly what you're doing. But yeah, and you're doing it with intention. You're doing it with awakening.
Well, intention is the main word that when I work with people on energy healing, on space clearing, on anything, it's not just a matter of people light sage and they're going to go around smoking their house
Right.
down and getting rid of it. It's what is your intention when you're lighting the sage? What is your
Yeah.
intention when you're getting up in the morning? Are you intending to have a good day and to make a difference in this world? And I think that sometimes we lose track that when we declare and set our intention, miracles happen because we have declared it so.
Yeah. And I think that's what happens when we become aware that we do have a divine essence inside of us, that's being projected out there in the beauty of the world. Um, for me, that experience for the near death was kind of the death of the old to surrender to the new. And I think that's what intention does. Intention with blessing your food, your water, or anything that you're doing, send it love because you're drinking it, you're eating it. This exchange of energy is just huge. But I would definitely say living intentionally is, for me, what Stop the Bypass is all about. And then realizing what masks that I still hide of myself. And yeah, coming to terms with them. It's been an amazing journey.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Is there anything that you feel is really important that you want to share that you haven't had an opportunity to share yet?
Um, I think for me, because I've played all those roles in my life, I'd have to say that you know, are you living a life that feels like yours? Are you living a life that's your dream? And everything that we do for everybody, the only way to heal is self-love. And we're so busy giving. I'm a great giver, but I've learned to receive. So I'd have to just say that yes, self-love is the foundation for all healing. And like I said, so busy giving it out, we need to bring it inside and learn to love ourselves.
Wow.
You know, and
Self-love
yeah,
is the foundation. I'm writing
foundation
it down.
for all healing. Yeah,
Beautiful. That is so powerful. And I don't think people really understand how powerful those words are, you
right,
know?
right.
And I think so, and sometimes we have to learn what self-love is.
Yes.
And it might be
And
as simple as saying no to you. Be
well, and that's what we came here to experience. Every relationship is really the relationship with yourself. But people don't want to look at themselves. They blame and shame everything that's happening out there, but it's it's really this internal compass. This is where our core values are. This is, the essence of our being. So God gave me quite a few timeouts and those wake up calls. Yeah, to look to learn that I'm here to experience this life.
That's so beautiful. And Sandra, when do you think your book's going to be out?
Well, we finished 21 chapters. It's going out for structural development and crowdsourcing. I anticipated I've selected 1/1/26 as the publishing date. And it's been a 5-year journey. And initially, I thought it was self-analysis, looking back at my life. And then I realized if people connect the dots, they could do their own reflection of their life and realize that we all have this universal healing that's available to us. So Stop the Bypass is this forthcoming book, but it's more of a movement. It's a program. I think the book is the connection, but I started, I'm on a speaking platform, a global influencer, and the topic, my signature speech is Stop Bypassing Your Happy Life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I love the date that you've chosen because that's
Yes.
my birthday. 1/1 is my birthday. And so wishing you the best of luck on that day. And um, tell me again what you said about the platform that you're speaking.
Oh, I'm a global influencer. It's called Speaking Success Secrets. And it's an opportunity for us to share our life. And that's what I share is, you know, waking up from the NDE, looking at my life, and then completely rebuilding, reinventing myself. So this is the new me, and a lot of it had to do with that the unmask experience is looking at all the masks that I wore for everybody else, and yeah, finding the real me.
So for those people out there who are who realize that they're walking around with that mask
Yeah.
and they are not being true to themselves, um, there is hope out there.
Oh, definitely. And sometimes during that illness and diseases that come into our life, then we can get an opportunity to look at it. I love the inner child work. I've done shadow work. I've done everything, but it's really all me. It's me that's creating all those experiences, and yeah, uh, yeah, just learning from every one of them, Hindy.
And you know what, Sandra? I don't know about you, but I've done a lot of work in my years also. And sometimes some new technique comes up and somebody said, "Do you want to go?" And there was a time I would go everywhere and anywhere
Yeah,
because I was just so cu hungry and curious. And what I realize is we have what we need inside of us.
yeah,
And all you have to do is tap in. So, reading your book, as an example, could be enough without
yeah.
going to a workshop or a healer or anyone, right? It's that connection to self and how you do that. So, I don't think you have to run around to 20 workshops and all these different places. I mean, I love doing it. So, I've done so many, but really and truly, that's my belief that everything we need is within us to heal. All
Right.
we have to do is, again, declare it, right? In our
Well,
intent.
and I was the same thing as, I'm a natural wellness practitioner and have certifications in most all healing modalities. But that's been my journey of my own personal wellness. This just sparked here. I have a vision board next to me to give me the energy. But after I had that near-death experience, I wrote a lot about dying, and it was dying to be me, dying to be safe, dying to retire, dying to breathe, dying to serve, until I realized that my whole life, there's that aspect of me that has never lived in living the free way. So living allows me to feel alive, and uh, we've talked about nature, we've talked about family, we talked about this whole play shop of our environment. So it's been a huge awakening. and moving from that survival into that thrival mode, and then realizing is, we're the ones that bypass their own life.
Well, we have a little expression, the Jewish expression that you may have, if you ever saw the movie Fiddler on the Roof,
Oh, yes, one of my
and it's
favorites.
to life l'chaim. There's a little
Yeah.
song, to life l'chaim. L'chaim means to life. So
Right.
it's to life in English. L'chaim is to life also. And
Also.
there's many ways of living your life.
Yep.
And so I wish for you your continued beautiful life and living each day in fullness. And anybody that's listening today, I hope that Sandra has been able to inspire you to do whatever you need to do in order to live a full and loving life and love yourself. And thank you so much, Sandra. It was such a blast having you here today.
Right. This has been a great experience, and I love what you're doing in the message that you're sharing with the world, because we all want to make a difference, Hindy. And this is a new experience and an energy exchange for us. But what I've learned is that, abundance is more than financial. Abundance is the relationships, the abundance of the experiences. And that's what we're here to live. So I love it. Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone. Till the next time.